Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the chairman for yielding. And I've had an opportunity to listen to the debate and some of the things that are going on. Yes, they're heated, but as we look at this agreement, a historic agreement, my good friend from New York just asked, will you stand with your president? I have stood with the president before, but I think it's also important that we take a look at this agreement. This is a historic mistake. This is one that will jeopardize the safety and security of the United States. And I want to echo that this is a bipartisan opposition. So this is not about left versus right. This is about right versus wrong. And ultimately, when I tuck my children in bed at night, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old, and I look into the faces of those that are here, these young Americans, and I wonder what type of country they will inherit with a nuclear-armed Iran, for me, that is unacceptable. Our stated objectives, our goals were to make sure that Iran never has the ability to achieve a nuclear weapon. And yet this agreement, according to Bob Menendez, all but preserves it. A nuclear-armed Iran, one that shouts death to America. They want to wipe Israel off the face of the map. This agreement, ballistic missile embargo, is lifted in 8 years, an arms embargo in 5. My friends, what do you use a ballistic missile for? I would argue it's not to drop leaflets. It's not for humanitarian purposes. It is to rain terror down on the United States of America. And for me, that is completely unacceptable. And again, I don't care where you come from, what district you're in. This is about, will we be safer? And the answer is simply no. I believe that this agreement ultimately will be an arms race in the Middle East. We've talked about France. We've talked about the UK. We've talked about Germany. Has anybody asked the neighborhood? Has anybody asked Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Egypt or Israel? The answer is no, because they're uniformly against this, because they know Iran's ultimate goal is to not only devastate that region, but to devastate the United States of America. This is one of the things that, again, must unite us. This is not about partisanship.
I give the gentleman another 30 seconds.
The gentleman is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
This is not about partisanship. Please hear me. We don't want to bring up 9/11 in the sense that we want to do it on this day, 9/11, but I do think that it does smack of the idea that we never want to see that dirty bomb that comes into a container ship, that goes into New York or Miami or Washington, D.C., because you know what? No one wants to relive what happened on that day 14 years ago. And yet, if we do not step up in a united front and stop this, my fear is that we will relive that day again. That, for me, is unacceptable. And I implore you all, my colleagues, my friends, to stand up against this awful, historic mistake.